In this video, we're going to show you how to install the Bellows boot on your Kia Sorento located on your steering rack. Using a 21mm socket, go ahead and loosen and remove your lug nuts. Go ahead and grab that wheel, remove it, and set it aside. Now, in order to get our Bellows boot off here, we have to go ahead and start by loosening our jam nut here, and then we need to remove our outer tie rod from the knuckle itself. And grab some pliers. Now, we soaked this in some rust penetrant, and we're able to get that nut loose. We're just using a large pair of pliers here. Next thing is we need to remove the cotter pin here. So we're going to use a pair of pliers, and we're going to bend this tab over. Now sometimes these are rusted and just kind of corroded in there. If you can bend these tabs back and pull the cotter pin out, beautiful. Otherwise you'll have to work it, try and get that out. Cotter pins are a one-time use. So when you get this out, you do need to source a replacement. Here's our cotter pin. Using a 19mm socket, go ahead and loosen this nut. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread this pretty close to the top, leave it on just a couple threads. That way there we get a bunch of this tie rod end threads exposed here. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and strike the knuckle right here, and that's going to pop out our outer tie rod. It's going to drop down. This nut is going to work as a capture nut, and it's just going to keep it from dropping down too far, but watch for that. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses when performing a job like this. There it is. Go ahead and remove that nut. And there it is. With this separated, we now want to go ahead and unthread our outer tie rod from the inner tie rod. Before you go any further, grab something to write with, whether it's a pen and paper, a crayon, whatever it is, and we need to count the full amount of revolutions it takes to remove this from the inner tie rod. That's going to set us with a preliminary setting for our wheel alignment when we reassemble. If you don't do this, you're going to mess up your wheel alignment, and it's going to make it more complicated to get down to the repair shop to get a professional alignment performed. So let's go ahead and start. "15 turns for our particular vehicle. Yours might be slightly different, but whatever it is, you want to go ahead and write that down. Now we went ahead and sprayed down the rest of our threads here with rust penetrant. It's going to help us remove this nut. And still some of these threads are bugged on there. If you want to throw a socket on there and throw it on your electric driver or impact gun, you can go ahead and do so. Kind of zip it off a lot quicker. In most cases, you can just zip it off by hand. All right, go ahead and set that aside. Now the next thing we want to do is there's a clamp right here. We need to go ahead and remove this clamp off of our Bellows boot. I'm going to use a pair of needle nose pliers. Open up that clamp, slide that off. We should be reusing this here, so go ahead and put that aside. Now on the other side of our Bellows boot is going to be a band of some sort securing it to our rack. Let's go to that. Nope, on the inside here, there's going to be that metal band, and what I'm using here to come through on the other side, it's a screwdriver, but I have a notch cut in it. What I can use it for is to get underneath that band, and I'm going to knock that band free. Now the band is a one-time use, so it doesn't matter if we ruin it or not. That just has to come off. And then we'll go ahead and remove that later. Now we can grab this boot and pull us off the steering rack and off of our inner tie rod. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this band off. Now, if you want to, you can go ahead and pack some more grease on your inner tie rod here, and then we'll go ahead and install our boot. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that other wheel on the other side, and I'm going to rotate our wheel, and you can see that that rack end is getting sucked in. And what this is going to allow when we install our boot here, it's not going to be completely stretched out super far, causing an issue for us to try and get our bands on. So now at this point, we can go ahead and slide this over. And then we're going to put the inside portion on our steering rack and put our band on. Now I'm going to go ahead and work our boot onto our rack. So I'm just checking around the perimeter of the rack tube or rack housing itself to make sure that our boot goes on all the way. There it is. You can push that right on. You can spin the boot. Whatever it takes to get on that fully seated. You can see up here, just nice and vertical here. Now, instead of replacing a metal band there, we're gonna simply use a tie strap here. All you're gonna do is run that up and around. Go ahead and get that started. Gonna pull it in just a little bit. Okay. Now what we want to do is get our tie strap around our strip here on our boot. Once you have that on there, just go ahead and grab your pliers here, and we want to go ahead and tighten it. Good, snug that up. Grab your cutters, snip off the excess. The inner portion of our bellows boot is installed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the driver's side wheel. I'm going to turn it back and extend out the inner tie rod to where it was before. Let's go ahead and install our clamp here. Get that clamp on there. I'm going to go ahead and install jam nut here. I'm going to spin that on. Grab the outer tie rod. Now remember, on your count, you want to go ahead and install this here. Ours was 15 full turns. Here's our 15 right there. Now before we install this here, you want to pay attention to the hole in the ball joint stud here. That is where you're going to be putting your cotter pin through. So I'm going to go ahead and line this up. Work that up into place. Let's go ahead and get that nut started here. Now, if you have the ability to do so, you want to go ahead and torque this down to 57 foot-pounds. Now with that torqued, the next thing you want to do is locate that hole in the ball joint stud. And ours is just a little bit off, is just the notch in our castle nut is just before the hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten this just a little bit more. You want to get those to line up. Never loosen the nut for these to line up for the cotter pin. Now you can either bend both of these tabs over or just one and snip off the other. I like to just bend over one, then use my cutters to cut off that other one. Now with this torqued and we have the cotter pin in, let's go ahead and go to our jam nut. And we want to tighten this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a pair of locking pliers on here. We do want to make sure that this is good and tight. You also want to make sure once that's tight that your tie rod end is not jammed up this way or back. You want it in this neutral position, just like so. At this point here, I'm going to repeat this process for the other side. Go ahead and grab that wheel, line it up onto those wheel studs. Let's go ahead and get our lug nut started. Now once we get all of these started, we're going to come back and snug them all down. Let's go ahead and torque down our lug nuts to 75 foot-pounds. You want to do this in a crisscross pattern. Don't forget, anytime you touch any suspension component, tie rod end, anything like that, you want to have the vehicle professionally aligned. That's going to prevent premature component wear as well as tire wear.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.